Hey everyone, it's Kyle, and welcome to my next Let's Play. It's time, well, if you couldn't read that text in the bottom left due to my emulator, it's time for more Mega Man! And this time, finally, in 1993, after 6 games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, mind you, we're finally moving out into the Super Nintendo. I think this was released the same year as 6, actually. Let me look that up. But, the Super Nintendo was already out well over a year when Mega Man 6 was out, so, was it? And pretty much this entire thing is recapping the entire ending of Mega Man 6, which I'm perfectly fine with because I love 6. But as it turns out, he planned for his defeat all along and made 4 robots to pretty much decimate the world or help him escape should anything ever happen. Yeah, 93. Yeah, 6 was released in 93, so this was at least 94. Yeah, no, 95. The Super Nintendo's lifespan was almost over by the time this was released. It took them that long. Six months after Mega Man 6, we finally get another adventure. Typo! Being contacted by Dr. Wily. That robot is so much smaller in person, it's not even funny. Woo! And we burned. Now it's time for a game that I used to hate as a child, actually. Now let's finally get to Mega Man 7. One of the 3 Mega Man Classic games on the Super Nintendo, actually. There's this, Mega Man Soccer, but we don't talk about that. And then there's Mega Man and Bass, which was released in 98, I believe. But it's time to start the game, and the one part I really hate about this game, the dialogue. You can't auto-scroll a majority of it. And, except for maybe my Mega Man 2 Let's Play way back in the day, this is the first time we're actually seeing Mega Man, or Rock, really, without his hair. Or, without his hair, yes, without his helmet. And of course, let's roll next to him, Mega Man's sister, and the new guy there up front is Otto. He's pretty much an assistant to Dr. Light. He'll be appearing in a lot of the games from now on. Mega Man, you need your helmet. Comedy relief is funny when it's good. Which this isn't that, really. Although, in reality, that helmet's probably better than his normal one, considering metal helmets are invincible. And apparently all robots in this universe like to pose for some reason. Mega Man as a boss, it kind of reminds me of X5, actually. Now the adventure begins, or another cutscene. Hi, Dr. Light. Hi, Rush. And as it turns out, Wily is using the attacks of his robots to cover for his escape. Although if there's many explosions like that, I doubt that they would really not note. I doubt that they wouldn't notice that he's getting away. And he's still using his eyebrows. Why? The spaceship? And now, almost 6 minutes in, we finally get to play the game. You'll notice that this game, while core gameplay is the exact same, except that the thing is with the way the Super Nintendo works is that Mega Man's sprite's actually quite a bit bigger on the screen, so that might take some getting used to. And see, this robot's a lot smaller in person. It's only I actually, when I first rented the GameCube Anniversary Collection, I could not beat this guy. His only weak spot's his face, so just shoot that repeatedly. You should be pretty good. What the? Well, someone got torn up here. Who the hell is this guy? Well, he's pathetically easy, that's for sure. Yeah, you can really just stand there and shoot, and if he even tries to aim at you, just attack him, and then this cutscene will happen. I learned that you can fast forward this text with this playthrough. This is Bass, and he's Trouble. The dog being Trouble, of course. In Japan, he's named Forte for some reason, but I think Bass and Trouble makes more sense with the clefs because Mega Man is really based off music. Heck, Rush is only named that because the guy who made Mega Man is a fan of the band Rush. But anyway, yes, as it said in the intro, we only have 4 Robot Masters to deal with at this point. And to start off, we're going to be taking on Freeze Man. Unlike all my other games so far, I'm actually going to be reading their Megaman and Bass bios, so let's get that started. Freeze Man is a prototype robot for pollution-free energy, though he tries to invent in a cool appearance pose. Good point, he's a perfectionist. Bad point, he's gaudy. He likes mystery novels and he dislikes pollution. Well, that's awesome. And immediately we're going to notice that this game's soundtrack is fantastic, and it's not as good as instruments as the 8-bit games, but it's still fantastic. And you'll be noticing when we defeat enemies, sometimes we're going to be getting bolts. I'll show you what those are for at the beginning of the next part. Freeze Man's stage is really just the normal ice gimmick that every Mega Man game really has. It's not too hard, not too easy. You shouldn't have much of a problem. Do not shoot the icicles these guys drop. If you do, you will end up getting killed. Well, not by the icicles, because you'll hit the spikes most likely. Anyway, you start off in this game... Ooh, extra life. In this game, you start immediately off with Rush Coil, so let's use that. Jump up here, and get to a nice little collectible right there, an H. Like, if you remember Mega Man 6, when we had to beat the Robot Masters in the optional rooms to get the beat parts, these are pretty much equivalent to those, except they help you get an armor that's fairly similar to something from 6, which I'll get to when we get the said armor next part. Jump up here, go on a slightly optional route. I'd recommend using Rush Coil, because if you place them right, you can pretty much cheese throughout the way, because this is actually fairly hard to platformer if you're not careful. After doing that, we get Rush Search, which will be useful for getting a few specific items throughout the game. I'm not sure why I'm pausing. I could just actually use the L and R button, something that Mega Man X actually introduced. In fact, this and Mega Man 6 and X were released the same year, believe it or not. But, it is actually very convenient for the boss fights, and oh my god, wait, Mega Man 6 and X released in 1993. Oh my god, they're 20 years old this year. These things will throw bombs at you. They're not too big of a deal, but be careful of that. And now it's time for us to take on Freeze Man with a robotic dinosaur in the background for some reason. How would the robot dinosaur even work out? Well, actually, this game kind of has a reason for that. Freeze Man is kind of like Crash Man from Mega Man 2, in that when you fire, he jumps. And his pattern is that he'll throw that ice thing at the ground, which freezes the ground over, shoot an icicle at the ceiling, which causes icicles to fall, and then he'll shoot that item, which can freeze you. He's actually a fairly simple boss. I wouldn't recommend taking him on your first if it was your first time through the game. I actually recommend taking on Burst Man and his stage first, but I've played this game for years, so I know what I'm doing. Oddly enough, I do enjoy... Some people seem to think I hate this game. I do not hate this game. I love this game. It's Mega Man 5 I hate. Well, I'll get to that when I have to do the inevitable Let's Play of it. And Freeze Man is down. And unlike every previous Mega Man game, when you get a weapon, it doesn't just tell you what it is, it actually tells you what it does with this little cutscene here. This is pretty much for the little kids who can't figure out what weapons do by themselves. It's rather useful, actually. And we get the Freeze Cracker. Wasn't that the name of a weapon in one of the X games? Password screen. For some reason, all games had passwords back then. And now it's time for Burst Man, who I recommend taking on first if it's your first time through the game. Burst Man is an enthusiastic festival goer. He loves watching fireworks and shooting bombs as fireworks. Good point, he's optimistic. Bad point, he's happy-go-lucky. He likes night-long binges, and he dislikes steady efforts. So he's a night owl, huh? Burst Man stage is the bomb theme level in the game that was actually really introduced with... well, if you remember these bombs from 6, you had to touch their little triggers, and they ended up blowing up after 3 to 5 seconds, depending on which bomb you're touching. You couldn't see it there, but I got an E-Tank. It just immediately disappeared when I touched it. Now, the only part that would make this kind of a bad level for beginners is the spikes underwater, because, like in Bubble Man stage from Mega Man 2, there's going to be a section I think on the next screen, actually, where you're underwater completely. Is it the screen? No, it's this screen. Where the water physics make you jump twice as high for some reason. That makes no sense. It would make you, due to the water pressure, it should make you jump at least half as high, maybe. But you have to be careful, because if you touch those, it's instant death. And now there's a mini-boss. There are various ways you can fight this guy. I just like mashing my fire button, because it takes him out rather quickly, actually. Slide underneath him, because for some reason sliding is actually very effective for dodging in this game in particular. And if you just pelt him to death, he should be no problem. And for some reason now the water makes you rise, even though I don't think water would work like that. Especially if you're a robot like Mega Man. Now, quick tip here. When this water comes back up, do not jump into it. Just walk off the ledge, because if you jump, you're gonna go twice as far down in the water, and you're gonna hit the spikes. And now for a staple of the series I love oh so much. The reappearing blocks. Well, they're not that bad in this game actually, because they're only like 2 stages. And they're not that hard for me once I get that certain armor I was talking about. Except for this, because I don't really practice this game often. I don't play this game as much, even though I do really like it. The worst of these blocks is by far Mega Man 5's. And there's the letter for this level. I might as well say now. Wait, I mentioned they're already kind of like the beat parts from 6, but they spelled rush, as I meant. But here's the R. 2 down, 2 to go. And each of the 4 letters is located within the first 4 stages you have available, because there are 8 Robot Masters, even though there only show 4 at this point. There is a password you can input to make all 8 available from the get-go, and the 8-bit demake, because of this, it makes them all 4 of the Robot Masters available from the get-go. Should I do a thing on the... Nah, I'll wait on the demake if I ever decide to do that. Be careful here, because if you jump when you're not in the right location or you fall, you're kinda dead. Yay, money! Or bolts, really. And now it's time for Burstman himself, who, if you had noticed there, my life fully refilled. I didn't use an E-Tank, I actually died to him off screen. Burstman is actually a bit easier with the Mega Buster alone, because if you hit him with his weakness, this was introduced in 7, in this actually, I believe. Where if you hit something from, was it introduced to this or X? I think it was introduced because of the X series. Well, actually, it depends on who you're fighting next, actually. But, when you hit something with their weakness, their pattern resets, so... It kind of makes it more difficult, because his pattern, when it starts off, can be kind of tricky to dodge. But if you just Mega Buster him, he's pretty easy. Just be careful when you're charge shotting, because that will also reset his pattern. Burstman's actually really is a good beginner stage for anyone to go for. I recommend him. Just be careful, because when he shoots out bubbles with those yellow things in them, they are bombs that will explode, and if you're picked up by one and it drags you all the way to the ceiling, you're dead. Actually, that is exactly like in Bubbleman's boss room. Huh. No, as much as I like this little explanation right here, it is kind of annoying because you just wish you could skip it sometimes. But for beating Burstman, we get Danger Wrap. It pretty much fires a bubble up and to the right, or diagonally, really. With a bomb in it that encases anything. It's alright, especially for the next boss. But we're gonna be fighting the next boss next time. Thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And next time on Let's Play Mega Man 7, we're gonna head on over to Cloudman there on the left. See you guys then. And wow, the guy on the right has a real constipation face on, doesn't he?